Welcome everybody. Soapbox Sunday. Hey Mary, Sydney. How you doing, Sydney? Hey. I swear, my flower agate. You guys support her at Lucid Healing Company. L-U-C-I-D Healing, H-E-A-L-I-N-G-C-O. Her name is Sydney. I swear, she's an amazing, amazing person of wonderful products. My friend Lorraine introduced me to her. Guys, we are keeping it going, celebrating women all month long. I'm well, sweetheart. I am. Yes, I have a wonderful guest on today, folks. I cannot wait to introduce this girl to you. This woman, I should say. It's funny how you meet people and they don't know just how much of an impression that they left on you until years later. And then something like this happens for you, and you're like, you know what? This is the time to let them know, and I'm going to do it on a big fashion on my platform. Her name is Mary Claire Garcia, folks. I swear. She's unique. But you'll see why when she gets on. But you guys are doing okay? Getting those vaccines? Don't disclose if you have or haven't. Just know that it's yours for the taking. I'm excited about 2021, folks. Things are looking up already. I'm feeling good. Just an overall positivity in the air. As if we won't be here much longer than this space that we're in, this holding space. But this holding space has been good for me. I've got to tell you, I have learned so much about Jermaine this past 2020. So quarantine life wasn't lost on me. I gained. Yeah. So I'm excited about that. You guys are good. All these beautiful people. I see some of Mary's fans on here. Woo! So much self-learning. Exactly, Sydney. I tell you, if you come out of this quarantine or this whole pandemic the same, you might want to reevaluate some things. But we are celebrating our dear women, honey. They are the pillars of our society. And there's just no life without them. Literally and figuratively. I've been shaped by so many in my entire life. So today is a continuation of this. Folks, welcome to Soapbox Sunday. I am Jermaine Taylor. As I was saying, the celebration continues. Women and their contributions to our survival are what we are celebrating here on Soapbox Sunday all month long. But however, don't get it twisted, folks. Just like Black History Month, Women's History is 365. There is no life without them. The name Mary Claire Garcia. Folks, I want you to remember that name. It's a face you've seen, and I'll tell you why shortly, and a voice you've heard. She's a proud Hispanic American actress. She's beautiful. She's a beautiful example, I should say, of what equity looks like in Hollywood. She checks all the boxes. She's a native out here of Los Angeles, and her attributes, they reflect this evolution that was slow coming in this town, and she embodies that. She touches me. I don't know why. We haven't spent a whole lot of time in each other's company, but when I check out her Instagram posts and what she's saying, and when I follow her, and when I was in her company, I was just tugged by her. So I'm always interested in what she's doing. And when she just pops up on my television screen, I'm like, oh my God, there's my girl. She has a voice and point of view that many will no doubt be helped by during this interview. I'm incredibly happy to have her on the Soapbox. So hold on, folks. I'm going to get Mary Claire Garcia on Soapbox Sunday. Hold on, guys. All right. She is jumping on Criminal Minds. Exactly. They know your work. There she is. What's up, girl?
Hello. Hi, Jermaine.
Look at that face, folks. This is Mary Claire Garcia.
Hello.
One of the guests have already given out one of her credits, Criminal Minds, Unusual Suspects, or I Trying. The film that went to Cannes. How do you pronounce the name of that film? Trigonometry? How do you pronounce it?
Trigeometry.
Trigeometry. I was like, so let me just stab at it. But this is
Yes.
I mean, I got to tell you folks, and I know you've seen it. Remember that Kohl's commercial, everyone, where you saw this woman strutting down that aisle, that hallway, that school hallway? And she,
Yes.
she was owning the runway. Then all of a sudden the camera cuts to this child and the teacher. That right there is Mary Claire Garcia. How are you doing, sweetheart?
Oh, so good. I am just beaming. I'm so happy to talk to you and to see you again.
Yay. I know we've been apart for a long time, but you know what?
Yeah.
It's going to just change for the better. I know it is. Let me just get started because there's so much I want to dive in with you, Mary.
Okay.
You possess this healthy ego. And when you think of ego, sometimes you think of it as a bad way, but you have this healthy command of who you are, and you don't even say it, it just shows. You know what I'm saying? Was that something that was fostered in your childhood? Your parents just embedded this healthy sense of, I am who I am and I belong? Was that something that was just ingrained in you growing up, or did you have to learn it?
I think it's a combo of both.
Okay. Yeah, right.
I was not always confident. For a long time growing up, I didn't really know where I belonged. I didn't really have a group where I was like, these are my people, you know? And so I think my childhood, my parents fostered and instilled a sense of worth in me. They always, to this day, have really validated my career choice, which has been an amazing blessing, because I know that's not always the case.
No, it's not.
Yeah. So I think them always encouraging me to do that enabled me to have a foundation where I can honestly say I've never doubted this career path.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's an amazing blessing to have. I've talked to several actor friends of mine, and you find this narrative a lot with us actors of color, telling our parents we want to do something like this for the rest of our lives, and they're thinking of our safety. You know,
right.
Feed ourselves. Can we buy ourselves at home?
Bills.
And all within perfect reason. But they're the tugging. We just can't let it go, and it's something we have to just at least flirt with.
Yeah.
And, you know what I'm saying? Until so wait, I can't just flirt with this. This has to be my life.
Yeah.
Your imagination as a kid, did you have any idea as a kid, that 6-7-year-old Mary Claire, that this was in you? Like, what were you thinking of? Like when you saw actors and actresses on TV, did you put yourselves in that world?
You know, I did it with such ease too. I was just like, oh, this feels like me. This could be me. You know, I was just so joyful about it as a kid. And I still possess that joy. I think I've learned a lot about the industry and behind the scenes since then. But I did identify. Yeah. And there were parts that I didn't identify with as well. You know, where I think I remember the first time I saw a Latina on the big screen, and that was America Ferrera, and she was in Real Women Have Curves. And that was like, wow, for me, like, wow, someone of my size and similar background, you know, because I'm curvy, someone of my size and my background could be the star, could have a story shown. And I thought that was so powerful as a young girl and into my teenage years. And then the Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants, I remember. Yeah. My mom, she dropped me off at the movie theaters. And I didn't really have too many friends to go to the theaters with. So I just said, oh, I'm going to go hang out with so-and-so. Just drop me off. And she gave me like $10 for a ticket. Yeah. I went in and I watched Sister of the Traveling Pants. And I was just like, what? Like a Latina can fit in those pants? That's amazing. Like, that was like, wow.
That's why equity matters, sweetie. That's why, seriously. But before America Ferrera, even growing up as a kid, like, were there not any images that you latched onto? I know for me, it was always, what was that kid's name? I can't ever think of his name, but he was on one of those little kid shows, and I think Alfonso Ribeiro.
Okay. Yes.
I would always latch on to him. We look nothing alike. I've always thought he was a very attractive young kid. But seeing him, because I knew we were contemporaries, he somewhat validated that I could somehow do that. So it was just necessary that images like that would pass through my television in my home in order for me to hold on to the dream. Because, you know, you can play in your head, but when you see it, there's a rooting.
Yes.
You know?
There's a rooting. There's a greater possibility.
Right.
Validation.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think I really had that like aha identity until maybe my preteens and teenage years. I think before then, I just assumed, I really didn't give it much thought. I just realized it's not quite me, but that's okay. I just accepted that it wasn't quite me. And then when I went forward, you know, the need for artistry was always there though.
Right.
Like I would, you know, as a real small kid, I did ballet, and my parents were so sweet to put me in that because it can be expensive. And I remember doing a show, Peter Pan, and I wanted to audition for Wendy, and I did, but I didn't get it. And I got one of the Lost Boys. So they put me in, like, you know, we're just chumming around in the background. But honestly, I had so much joy doing that. And I remember, like, maybe we should tell stories about the Lost Boys.
There you go.
Maybe this should be the story. And I just, so I just kind of went with whatever was happening, I think, as a kid. In my imagination, I come up with melodies and harmonies. I think that leads a little bit into voice. And, like, I'd be in the bathtub, and I'd just play, and that wasn't ever stunted. My parents always allowed me to do that, and for that I thank them.
So this was just an organic move through you. There was just, you didn't force anything. It just happened to evolve on its own. And the more evolving, the more that it evolved, I should say, the more it began to become really synonymous with who you were, because it was like nothing was forced. It was just growing inside of you. And then you go to college.
Yes.
Did you have to audition when you get to school? Like when you got to the program that you went to, what was the name of the school that you went to again, sweetie?
For grad school, I went to Cal Arts.
Yeah. Now, was that audition rigorous? Because I know a lot of MFA programs, they want to see you at the top of your game from when you are at that particular time in your life. So how was that audition when you got there?
It was a process. I remember a really wonderful close friend of mine. She and I auditioned for programs together, and we helped each other to curate our letters and our essays and our applications with one another. And that process was really joy-filled. And then when I auditioned for other MFA programs too, but I felt a calling towards Cal Arts, and I loved being on the campus. I was lucky enough to audition on the campus. And I just have like there was a kindred spirit or energy about the place that I really enjoyed.
Did the location matter because it was here in LA proper?
I think so. I think so. I think it did. Because I could just see it happening. You know, I could afford to do it. I didn't have to move to New York, even though I really wanted to go to New York. I ended up staying in LA. So the process was somewhat rigorous, but I did feel like I had gotten to the point where I could handle the process. But my journey through academia took a lot of turns to get to that MFA. Like, when I had graduated from high school, I was a part of independent study program. So it enabled me to audition outside and kind of self-teach myself throughout the week, and then check in with my mentor and professor, who I still stay in contact to this day. She was just a wonderful inspiration and mentor to me. But she had also, I wanted to go into psychology originally, just to study how we work, you know, and what we believe and what we see and perceive, and that it all just fascinated me. But then it also goes hand in hand with this work.
Exactly. It's interesting how you do all these things in life, and you just never know how they end up being tools. They're all in your bag So when you finally get to that moment, it's like, wait a minute, I'm accessing something that hasn't even have anything to do remotely with entertainment, but it's helping me.
Yeah.
These people are seeing a layer of me that they didn't see in this person that came in before me.
Right.
So you celebrate that journey, you know,
Yes.
that's why I said organically happening, because, you know, you don't know what you're going through that's going to prepare you for what you're going to get to. You understand what I'm saying?
So true.
Yeah. So you get to Hollywood, you audition.
Yeah.
Getting to those auditions, what were like the first, like, okay, wait a minute, they didn't teach me this.
No, let's demystify this right here.
what was that initial hard lesson that you still remember and hold on to today?
That first audition. Are we talking about the first one?
Pick one.
Okay. Well,
You're so beautiful, sweetie.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Okay, let's talk about the first one because I remember vividly that experience.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of them, you kind of just, you just keep going, right? Some of them you're not going to remember.
Yeah.
There are milestone ones where you do remember, or it felt good, or it didn't feel good, you know? Yeah. But the first one, it was for a regional theater, and they were doing the Christmas Carol, and I had studied so much for it, and I was ready for the music, and I just was in it, you know. Mm-hmm. I was 17, I think, was my first memorable audition, and I remember the hallways just getting narrower and longer at the same time, closing in, and all of the prep just escaped me.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I blinked in the room, and they're just like, oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much.
I think that has happened to just about every actor. I mean, even top grossing blockbuster names. That happens because I think what happens is everything just dumps on you, and it dumps on you to the point to where it just eclipses everything that's in your mind.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just gone. And you're like, okay, so this is where I'm at.
You're right. Audition anxiety is so intense. It's intense for me up until I get to the room. When I get in the room, it's like, bam. But walking up to it, it's like, oh, God. And you're trying your best to remember all your points you want to make.
Not to
your
fall. Yep. Go to the bathroom beforehand.
That should be a
semester. Not sweating.
Yes. It should be a required semester course for anybody that's in a freaking program, because that is a technique that only comes through doing.
Gotta break it down.
Get to Hollywood, you start booking, you start auditioning, I should say. And then you start seeing the realities of this town. And you're seeing, you're juxtaposing realities of this town as to what you're seeing in the mirror. There comes the mind acrobatics. I call it mind fucks. It's like, wait a minute. They're saying all-American. I'm all-American.
Yeah.
I do understand what all-American means.
What's your all-American?
Exactly. So how do you reckon as a Latina when it says all-American, or when the character description is nondescript? Are you making sure that you're taking care of that character the best way that Mary Claire would? Or do you stamp it with who you are as a person and then just let them run with it? How do you make those choices?
That's a really good question. I would say I do both.
Okay.
I mean, I think this brings up another point where my whole life, everyone's just like, just be yourself.
Yeah.
Just be yourself. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
But at a younger age, I didn't know who really I was. I didn't know who to be in a moment. Right. And what I would really do. It was all just, I don't know, just wasn't quite me for so long. I felt like I had to be someone else for a long time. So when I was auditioning, I thought, well, what if I play it like this person? I maybe will book it, right? Now,
that person that you say I'm playing it like, was it always a person that was white, I should say, or would it be?
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
I mean, those were the only examples that were available to me. So I ran with what I knew, you know.
Right, right.
I mean, there are some amazing examples out there, but
Mm-hmm.
there wasn't diversity for way too long.
Yeah.
So we use what we have.
Right.
And I think moving forward in the discoveries of who I really am
Mm-hmm.
in the work.
And it took getting older.
Getting older.
Yeah.
It took time.
Yeah.
It just took time and experience, and really there's no substitute for that.
Yeah.
And I remember getting the advice very young, don't enter the industry until you're ready. And I really internalized that more than I knew at the time. And I just thought, oh, I'm not ready yet. Oh, I'm not ready yet. Oh, I'm not ready yet. Not ready yet. Don't do it yet. I'm not ready yet. I'm definitely not ready yet. I just kept saying that to myself instead of just saying, so many people do it when they're not ready.
Sure.
Why can't you?
Yeah. Why can't you have an on-the-job training experience as well?
Right.
Yeah. And I think that's a space in life that you pass through, but it's a necessary passing. Yeah. You have to learn what it feels like to sacrifice a piece of yourself in order to get to the point to where you don't sacrifice a piece of yourself, because there's an empowerment, there's a layer that comes on you that makes you a lot more interesting. You know, you've seen their evolution. You've seen, wait a minute, this person has been through something. I don't know what it is, but the way she is saying, shut the door. I'm like, whoa, you know, it's just a random Broadway line, but the way she said it, there's so much weight underneath it. And it's life experiences like that that gives you that weight. So I don't discount those experiences, but you know, sometimes you wish, could you have taught it to me a little differently?
Differently.
Because I'm wasting a whole lot of time, you know.
Right. A decade later, and I'm still here. You know, like, and that's another thing is that we are in this. It's a marathon, you know. We can't be like, okay, I'm gonna give myself 2 years, and I'll be famous. But that is not the way to enter, I think, this career, because I've done it. I've set time frames for myself, and each one was broken. And then I had to deal with that expectation and shattering of the expectation. Yeah. And I think it's just a matter of, well, for me, it's just been persistence. It's like persistence through not wanting to do it sometimes. Yeah. There have been stages, you know, with this one, it is difficult. And there are other things going on in life that, like last year, that, and currently, that make this process difficult, you know? Yeah. Yes, it's not a sprint. We can't treat it like a sprint.
Yeah, no doubt. Now, when you look at people, you know, the pillars that we build upon that we're grateful for, like Linda Carter, Raquel Welch, you know, it wasn't for me, and I feel like this was a lot of people's story. They didn't find out that they were Latina actresses until much later in life. Like when I found out that Raquel Welch was Latina, I was like, what? You know, Linda Carter, I was like, oh my God. Do you think they played the hand that was dealt to them in order to work, having to sacrifice that? Or what's your feelings about that as a Latina actress right now, Mary?
I think so. I think that everyone's really just using the hand they're dealt, you know, and they had to maybe change their, I don't know, but maybe they had to change their name. I know a lot of people who have had to change their names. Right. Had to, you know, and to cover up the fact that you belong to a minority group, or that you may be marginalized if you.
No doubt. Yeah. Didn't one of Martin Sheen's sons turn his name back to, he was Emilio? Didn't he have a name and then he went back to Emilio?
I'm so sorry. You cut out really briefly. Say that again.
Yeah, because my interconnection went crazy. Martin Sheen, he has his son. Didn't one of his sons like change his name, or did he always keep his name? What did he do?
Oh my gosh, I don't know, honestly, but I'm sure maybe, you know, we're all trying to prevent prejudgments, really. Exactly. That's all we're just trying to do. Is like, don't prejudge me before you see my work. Right. Don't, you know, really just take my work at face value. I don't want to be, and I want to be equal in this process, period.
Yeah.
And I think everyone approaches that differently, whether you have to change your name or, you know, if you are white passing. I am white passing. That is a privilege of me. So, but I didn't want to change my last name.
Right.
You know, I'm married to a wonderful hubby, and I still kept my maiden name because my heritage is really important to me, and I didn't want to lose that in my name, you know? So I don't know. I mean, I want to be identified as a Latina American, you know? But yeah, I do feel like women, we just take the hand we're dealt sometimes, but I think things are changing.
Yes, and speaking of that change, we are seeing a global galvanization of just equity across the board in many corporations, but particularly entertainment. But with that comes, you know, a good segment of the people who want to hold on to it, you know. Last year in 2020, the Super Bowl performance that featured J-Lo and Shakira, those two women, over 35, the best shape ever.
Olympic.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Two beautiful Latina women entertaining us, celebrating their bodies, moving as if they had just graduated high school.
Yeah.
But yet there was a lot of pushback.
Yes.
That they could maintain that. What did that say to you about, I mean, what were your initial feelings when you were seeing the reports coming out about such women were saying how offensive those images were? Did you find it to be somewhat of a race baiting issue? Or did you see where there could be some sort of validation to it? Honestly, what did you feel?
It says that we have a lot of work to do.
Okay.
You know,
yeah.
We have a lot of work to do. I mean, we're going to shame women who have worked decades at being this amazing. And then they finally get to that stage, the super stage. And all we have to do is just tear them apart.
Yeah.
You know, we can't celebrate them. We can't celebrate the greatness that they're giving us. You know, I just don't understand that. Also, I think it's a little hypocritical to be judging J-Lo and Shakira for their performance. You know, we do watch. And I think I did read a lot of the comments when that transpired about how, you know, they were scantily clad and wearing tight fit clothing. It's like, well, the football players are as well.
Yeah.
And that's all American, right? That's family friendly. Yeah. But when a woman does it and performs her heart out too, it's going to be docked and it's going to be judged, and it's different criteria.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, but you know, if you want to call yourself a feminist, don't do that.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
The rub for me was the fact that to get to that place that they were and they are, it takes work. You know what I'm saying? That doesn't happen in a year's time. No. That is a dedication 24/7. Yeah. And I felt like, wait a minute, you guys have discounted the amount of time that these women have put into this moment, have put into their lives. And it was just such a slap in the face, and to know that it was coming from other women at that. I don't know. 2020 was a year that was revelatory all around. And that was January.
Yeah. That was just January, to be clear.
Exactly. Now, also, with the forward thinking of, you know, the cultures, and we're being integrated and there's being a lot more equity in entertainment, there's also, you know, the reckoning that happens within our cultures. I know within, you know, my culture, the Black culture, there's a lot of issues that we have to deal with, you know, in the kitchen, you know, as we're dealing with in public. Colorism being one of them. Yalitza Aparicio, did I pronounce that correctly?
I believe
she was starred in Netflix's Roma a few years back.
Right.
And I remember a lot of the pushback that she got because she was very indigenous. You know, she looked like the people that were closest to the homeland. Beautiful woman, but that's who she was. Was there an inflection point within the Hispanic community that we need to change, we need to do better? What were your feelings when those stories were coming out? Like, what were your immediate takeaways from that, Mary?
Yes.
Okay.
That,
Yeah.
There was a lot of pushback, I think, from, this is going back to being white passing. Within the Latinx industry itself, there's colorism as well.
Yeah.
It's very apparent.
Yeah.
I mean, you really don't have to look far. Just turn on any soap, or there's still classism within a lot of the casting and colorism within it. And it's undeniable. You don't, like I said, you don't have to look far. So I think the question is, you know, how can we improve that? How can we make that better instead of continuing to deny it, because it's always been there. Yeah. You know, I don't think the question is it there? I think the question is, no, what do we do now?
Yeah.
And I'm happy to see that it is improving when it comes to casting, to show Native stories, to show Native faces, to show a greater portion of the spectrum.
Right.
And I think
it's a
like I said,
to crack. It is.
It is, and we're all reckoning. I think that was, you know, but I don't want to take part in the doubting anymore. It's like,
no doubt. Yeah.
We know this now, and if you don't know it, you need to do a hefty Google search. Yeah. Because it's out there. All you got to do is look.
Yeah.
You know?
It's interesting. I think it makes it hard for people to talk about, because at the same time you want to fix it, but you tend to sometimes be a beneficiary of it. Yes. So it's like, wait a minute, I see this happening, but yet I see the gains that I'm making as a result of this happening. So there lies the internal conflict. Yes. But the greater person rises up to the moment and uses their platform, such as what you're doing, and make it better for us all. Absolutely. And, you know, and that's how we get to change. We just do recognize that we do have privilege. We do have a little bit more stock in this moment, and I do, but I'm going to use my stock to make sure that everybody at the table can eat. Absolutely. You know?
Absolutely, Jermaine. No, it's true. Yeah. And I think, you know, that's a question we ask ourselves, what can I do?
Yeah.
I've certainly done it, and continue to. I'd say you don't have to look far. Same thing, same premise. You don't have to look far. With our micro bubbles, how can we lift those voices that have been stunted and marginalized for so long? And, you know, whether that's sharing an opportunity that comes across your phone or your desktop.
Such as you did for me yesterday with the Sundance. Was it Sundance or Cons? What was that?
Yeah, Sundance.
Exactly. You know, you just each one teach one. I get something, I'm going to bring you along for it. You may not have the tools for it, but you can pass on to someone else that might, you know, and that's how it works. It's small efforts like that. That's how it works, you know? Yeah. You can't hoard it all for yourself.
No, absolutely. We have to make the pie bigger. We can't keep saying this is the pie and you have to say, no, it's like this. You can't see my arms, but this is the pie.
Yes, exactly.
Everyone needs their story told, you know?
Yes, that's the motto of Soapbox Sunday. Everyone and everything has a story. Oh my God, this is beautiful. What kind of stories do you like to tell, Mary? Like when you look for projects, what kind of stories do you like to tell? Like, what is your sweet spot for like really getting the message out there?
I really like ballsy women. I just really like women who are fearless and just go for it. And I think
walk down the school hallway with it and pick up their kid.
From square one, starting with Kohl's. Yeah, exactly. I just, you know, I love watching women just be potent on screen. And that doesn't always mean, you know, the stereotype of what powerful is. I mean, vulnerability is powerful. Yeah. And yeah, I mean, that's a broad spectrum, but I love it. Anything in that spectrum, I'm all for.
Are you ready for the next level? Like if it, because you know, this industry changes quickly. Your life and tomorrow, I'll be like, oh my God, I'm glad I got this interview today because I wouldn't be able to get her. Are you ready? Or do you think anyone's ever ready? But do you feel like you have it in you right now to commit? Because it's just not about acting what you do on screen anymore. You're a total person. Your points of view become somewhat, you know, people look to those. Everything about you, people dissect and they take from it. Yeah. And you have to be somewhat of a strong person, you know. Do you feel like you have the spine for it right now?
Yes, I think so.
Okay.
I think I do.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a process. It's an ebb and flow thing. Some days you're not going to. But I brought this up with a friend recently, and she had asked me, you know, who are you? I didn't know that it was a trick prompt. If Libby's here, Libby asked it to me. But it was a trick prompt, and she was hoping I would say an actor or, you know, but I just said, oh gosh, I don't know. I'm persistent. I just keep doing it. I just keep doing it. And I think that has enabled me to gain confidence over the years and to gain the skill set necessary to level up.
Right.
And I do think
when COVID hit, how did you reset? Like, what was your, like, immediate, okay, wait a minute, how am I going to make sure that I'm relevant? Am I just going to fall back like the rest of the world? Or am I just going to, you know, find the kind of way to stay in it? Like, what was your reset like last year?
It was both. Here we go again. All the above, Jermaine. It was all the above. It was dark. It was a dark time. I really did feel like, oh my God, I'm never going to work again. Yeah. You know, that was a sentiment shared broadly among, you know, and it was a legitimate fear. And I went on, despite that, I still decided to, okay, I'm going to do what I can do. I'm going to still practice some self-tapes, you know, I'm going to still improve my setup. Oh, there are open calls. Remember all those open calls?
Yes, indeed. Those virtual open calls. They were like all over the place.
They were all over the place. Thank God for casting directors who were like, let's go. Let's put you in our, you know, Rolodex. Like that did save me a little bit. I mean, there were a few where I was like, I just couldn't bring myself to do it because it was just such a trying time. Yeah. And all I wanted to do was maybe just stay in bed and wait it out, you know?
Yeah, no doubt.
as we're feeling. But I still was just persistent. Okay, what's the one little thing I can do today? So I did maintain that through last year's heavy quarantine. Yeah. And, you know, here we are. We do see a light at the end of this tunnel. Yeah, we do. Production is up and back. Yeah. Stories are still being told. Yeah. Things are still being produced. I mean, if you look at the dailies and read the dailies, there are things turning.
They're revving up. Yeah. It's a revving up. Yeah. I tell people all the time, if you come out of this quarantine the way that you went in, it was lost on you. I know. You know, when you have that much time to sit with yourself and to sit with your thoughts, you can either implode or explode a different person. Right. You know what I'm saying? And it seems is that what you did. You know, you kept going, yeah, there was a lull, but the entire world was lulling because we didn't know what we were lulling through.
All limbo. All lulled limbo. Yeah. I mean, and it was, it went in and out. Some days I was there to bolster myself. And some days I was like, this is a day off. I'm not, what's to do, you know? Yeah. So I think I kind of just met myself where I was at. I didn't want to put too much judgment on myself. That was another thing. You know, productivity wasn't what the goal was. It was just to feel better about myself. Right. You know, in the work. Yeah. And I think that did beget work and that did beget further auditions down the line. Right. So I think that was really...
What is your self-care routine, Mary? Like when you need to address your mind, what is your self-care routine? Like what do you go to? Are you a chakra? Or do you do meditation, religious? Like, where is your go-to where you pull that centering?
You at first when you said I thought you said chocolate instead of chakra. I'm like, that's it, bingo. It's chocolate. No. I mean, it is chocolate, but it's I do like to take a few minutes to meditate in the morning, and it's just really brief. It's kind of just centering and also enabling my body to wake up a little bit. And then I do enjoy skincare. That for me
the question.
Good. That feels so good. Just knowing that I washed my face and I took care of it. Like it's like a propellant for me to like, okay, what's next? Renelle knows chocolate is my self-care. It's my love language.
Is that Renelle? What's up, man? Down there in Georgia. I saw the name and I kind of thought that it may have been him. What's going on, Renelle? So good to see you. Oh, get out of here. Along that note, the balance of career and your family. How are you navigating? You mentioned that your hubby's there.
Yes.
Do you sometimes just not take projects or auditions because you might be cutting into too much of your personal time? Or like, how are you balancing that right now? Or have you always balanced it, I guess I should say?
Question. Well, it changes over time.
Yeah.
Right now we don't have kids. I'm sure if and when we do have children, it will change.
Right.
But no, I take every audition. Okay. I've only turned down, I can probably count on one hand the auditions that I've turned down, and they were all for varying reasons.
No doubt.
One was during quarantine where they wanted me to tape it in my house, and some of the blocking was to like scratch into hardwood flooring and paint walls red, and I was like, okay, I'm not gonna get my deposit back if I do that, so I'm gonna have to pass on this.
Well, that is an intrusion.
I was like, you're expecting the world here.
Had you ever auditioned for these people before? I'm like, are you kidding me?
No, I don't think I had. But I was like, I remember telling my reps, I'm gonna have to pass on this one, and I did say, I'm gonna. I don't know if you read part of the script. I'm sure you didn't, but I can't do that. Yeah. So that's really, I don't really turn down auditions.
Right.
There's a point when I get auditions, sometimes I'm like, oh my God, you know?
Yeah.
And then after that, I have to remind myself, bring joy to the process.
No doubt.
Because if I can bring some joy, I can bring myself, and I can enter in authentically. Yeah. So I do that, and I dive in. I love diving into auditions.
Yes, indeed.
You know, it's just, I start researching the production company and the directors or director and the producers, the writer, the showrunner. Yeah.
And that's a good point to make. That I was going to ask you for tips for would-be actors and auditioners. Try to have as much backstory on the people that you're auditioning for as well. Because even in that, there's a calming, you know, and there's an informedness. You kind of know where the aim or where the target might be. Yet it's all roulette. It's all roulette.
Yep.
But you know, knowledge is power. They say that, and it really is. The more you know, the more you feel empowered, and the stronger you are. Yeah. And that comes across as confidence. It does. And that is the one thing that most people on the other side of that table, they detect the moment you walk in the door, whether you're confident or not. Right. You know, so I have a pretty good command that you have that in the bag already, sweetie.
I enjoy the research, and it's kind of a nitty gritty thing. Yeah. I know sometimes it can be a little too much of a deep dive, but I enjoy the research, and I love watching prior work that they've done. Yeah. I love, getting a sense of their cinematography and how they tackle certain scenes with, women versus men or two at a time. I mean, I don't know. I just love, I love, taking what I can and running with it.
And all of that is the subtext, the things that you don't say, that comes across. Because people feel that energy. They feel that. So I was going to ask you, what would you advise? And you've already answered the question. So we're kind of like in harmony today, sweetie.
We're on the same page.
You ready for some rapid fire? All right.
Okay. Okay, sure.
I'm not good. I said, let me just bring this on. I wasn't going to even tell you, but when we were kind of going back and forth this morning, I said, let me just go ahead and tell you there's going to be a rapid fire, but it's all fun. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Brownies or chocolate cake?
Chocolate cake.
Wrap dress or skirt and top?
Ooh, wrap dress. Wrap dress.
What was that? Wrap dress? All right, cool. Coffee or tea?
Tea.
Binge watch a series or watch it over time?
Binge.
Picnic at the beach, picnic at the park?
At the beach.
Okay. Your awards acceptance speech. Will the band have to play you off or will you adhere to the time?
I'm gonna push it probably 6 seconds, but then after that, I'll come prepared. I'll come prepared.
And to celebrate that trophy, will you go to the official after party or will there be a small gathering with friends and family?
After party, and then friends and family next day, maybe.
And then you'll invite Jermaine, right?
Yeah, of course. That's a given.
Mary, this has been a great sit down.
Oh
with
my
you.
gosh.
You are not just women's history. You are You're a woman right now. You are what that aim for all women. They aim for you. They aim for the fullness that you represent. And I just had to. I was like, I hope she says yes, because I kind of like stabbed you out the dark. Like, oh my God, because it's not like we've been like talking, but I was like, I really want her for my my Women's History Celebration series. And I was so glad that you were able to receive this and just elevate my platform, sweetie.
You're so wonderful, Jermaine. And I love watching you so much. Sundays are so much fun. And I thank you for having me on this. You're such a joy.
Sweetheart, you have a good week and keep us informed because I know you've had a really good pilot season. So
Yes.
there's some things coming up, right?
Lots of NDAs.
All right, girl. Well,
so
you'll
much
let me
love.
know and I will tell the world, sweetheart.
You're the best. Thank you so much. Bye, Jermaine.
Folks, thank you guys. This was Mary Claire Garcia. I said, like I told you guys, I hadn't been really chatting with her, but we follow each other on social media. And I said, I really want her to be a part of this series. And when she said yes, I was like, oh my God, this is going to be perfect. And you guys just saw the fruits of that. Thank you guys so much for jumping on the soapbox today. Next week, we have none other than the legendary Rain Pryor. Folks, just like today, next week, we're just going to elevate women, tell their stories, and hopefully you'll be helped. Thank you for jumping on the soapbox, and I will chat with you soon. Bye-bye.